in here. And we're live for another TNT company info session, this time for our Agri-Food program powered by Farm Credit Canada. We're excited to have you here today and to have you all joining us for today's presentation. If at any point today, if you have any questions, feel free to use the reaction buttons at the bottom of your screen or just flag it in the chat. I do have the chat window open here. Happy to have you come off mute if you need, or just type it out in the chat and I will answer it accordingly. So just a quick little background on myself as the person who built this program for TNT. That's the farm I grew up on there. You'll see on screen just outside Saskatoon, not too far from the Ag in Motion site. For those that have been out here for Ag in Motion, and if you haven't, you definitely should. Great event. Grew up, around farming, but our family kind of moved into venture as well. My father was a serial entrepreneur. And built and sold a couple of companies, and one of those was known as Settler Computer Technologies. And for those that don't know what that is now Ag Expert with Farm Credit Canada. That's their farm accounting software program. So yeah, my father was one of the original co-founders of that company. Also built a fertilizer business through the 80s and 90s, sold that same time. So did pretty well, and we were always kind of big fans of Dragon's Den and similar programs to that, Shark Tank in the US. And I tried to do some startup stuff myself. I moved out to Toronto, got my economics degree at York University, did some stuff out there. But as many know, you gotta try and fail a few times before you eventually you find the right thing. And in 21, during COVID, came back. And eventually decided on building a family office. We're like, okay, how do we get involved? How do we do angel investing? How do we get out there into the market? That's where Startup TNT came along. Through my network, we found Startup TNT. And Startup TNT is a not-for-profit, for those that don't know, as an entity itself that kind of manages and oversees and runs everything, facilitates the program. It is a not-for-profit, but we're rallying communities together to collaborate and invest in their top startups. So I'm one of those investors. The two original co-founders, Zach and Tim, are one of those investors as well. So it's investor-led, investor-run. Investors obviously in it for money, but the organization itself is just trying to facilitate and rally more money into startups. And why are we doing this? As a not-for-profit, why are we funded to do this? The important thing to note here is that most high net worth individuals are not angel investing. And why aren't they doing it? Well, there's a technical lack of expertise there. On the diligence for the startups, you need to understand legal, accounting. You need to understand the technical side, the engineering, right, to do proper due diligence on a lot of these startups. And overall, it can be quite complex to go through that whole process. The paperwork, yes, safes and convertible notes are more in fashion. They're pretty quick and straightforward when it comes to the investment at the end of the day, but there is still some nuance there that you need to understand. And most people don't, unless you grew up kind of in and around startups or had that as part of your career. People are high net worth individuals. They're successful in their own rights. They're often successful business people, leaders in the community. They don't like looking dumb in front of their peers. It's been a while since they've kind of felt that. So generally, they're going to avoid it. And then overall, it just becomes too hard, right? They have to have a pretty significant position size in the traditional model. You're talking 25, 50K checks into each company. You're talking 10 to 20 companies. So you're talking, $250,000, $500,000, $1 billion allocation that you need to be making to start doing angel investing. So angel investors aren't early stage investing, but it creates a big problem. And this is especially applicable in ag, where angels that are coming from the sector have that industry knowledge. They can help find emerging demand. They can open up corporate access for you, getting those real customers in, pilots and paying customers. They're going to be a big signal for validation for you in that early stage when you're still developing the company that eventually, hopefully will get investment from larger institutional investors, but they want to see that early validation from the angels. And so we need angels. We need angels in the market. So this is where the TNT solution comes in, and why it is what we do. We'll explain a little bit more about the specifics of this in a minute. But effectively, we have pre-committed funds. Our investors pledge funds upfront before they even look at the companies. They perform group due diligence as a team. They go through the companies. They pick at least one at the end that gets the investment. We handle all the legal and paperwork to make sure everything is good to go there, and they get to have a lot of fun working with their peers, doing it collaboratively, and just having a good time while they learn and grow together. And same with the companies. The companies get to learn and grow as well. We're building up the community. It's a ton of fun. So how are we doing it? Well, for the Agri-Food program, this is our sponsor logo wall here. Very proud to have FCC as our Powered by sponsor for this program, starting from back in like March. They've helped us take this program fully national this fall. I'm really excited for that. Of course, Best Friends Forever, National Products Canada, McKercher, legal law firm out of Saskatoon region. Oh, and I've got MMP on here twice. Actually, a close friend. And we've got Innovation Saskatchewan supporting our Spring Summit every year that takes place out here in Saskatchewan as a core funding partner. So BC friends, community supporter, close friends, lots of great people there. And so if you're looking for service providers and the like, we've got some great people in the network. So like M&P for accounting, Gowling for IP, Chess Club does marketing. Emily's got, for like a smart farm, that kind of thing, and some other programming. So lots of great stuff there if you're in need of that. Summit key team members, just to highlight a few faces, just here on the call to me, and just me today. But we've got Jonah, our operations lead, so you might be seeing some emails from him once you get into the summit, as well as Niles, who's our direct SK and Agri-Food operations lead. And then, of course, Zach and Tim, the two co-founders of TNT. They're also the GPs of our funding mechanisms, so they handle the paperwork and the final close as well. So why join us for the Agri-Food Summit? What are we doing here? What's it all about? Well, yeah, it's real companies talking to real investors. As I mentioned, the investors are pre-committed capital. It changes the way they show up. I guarantee you that. Versus traditional angel groups that you might have talked to. A lot of angel groups, there's a lot of kicking the tires for those that have experience pitching to those groups. Well, our investors know that at the end of the day, one of the companies that they're going to be talking to amongst the group is going to be getting their investment. So they're going to take it really seriously. They show up to those meetings ready to take it seriously and ask you those real questions, right? So you're going to get that experience talking to real investors. We're going to you're going to have to build a data room if you get down to the top 10 stage, but I recommend you do it at the top 20 stage. So you should be building it anyway. We have resources for that. And really managing that due diligence, making sure the narrative and the story that you're telling is cohesive across, the meetings you're having, the data room, and everything that you're sharing with the investors. In the event that you do not receive investment, you will receive feedback, right? There's an opportunity for feedback at every stage of the process. Anytime you are eliminated from the process, you have an opportunity to receive very candid feedback. I try my best because I will be handling the feedback to sort of synthesize everything that was talked about amongst the investors and ensure that we're giving you really candid, and sometimes the feedback is you're just not on a venture capital pathway. You're not going to be big enough, scale enough. You should probably look for different types of investors. Sometimes that's feedback. Often though, it's like, here's XYZ thing that you can do to improve for next time. Our companies that are winners are often coming through multiple times before they're able to be successful as a winner. Right, just for some data on I haven't done this on ag yet because we don't have a big enough sample size, but for Saskatchewan, only 10% of first-time applicants receive investment, and for two-time applicants, 44% receive investment. So much more likely on the second time around. That said, we're still early days in developing out the Agri-Food program, so there's going to be a lot of first-time applicants receiving investment. And of course, increasing visibility. We do some big events. throughout the process. We have the top 20 and the finale night that I'll talk about in a minute, where we got hundreds of people watching. There's an opportunity to get out there. We also share our deal flow with VCs. If you check the box that's on your application, that allows us to do that. And we share it with other people in the community. So there's an opportunity to really get your name out there, potentially find that pilot project, find that advisor, maybe find a co-founder or somebody to work alongside you. You never know. We found all kinds of people have come on board with companies through our process. And everything is about, creating supportive community. We're really big on that in the culture. Our general rule is just like, don't be a dick. So, I think that's pretty straightforward. I think most people should have that as a requirement for their communities. So you might be asking yourself, am I a right fit? Is this program for me? Well, a couple of things you need to keep in mind. You do need to be able to participate over the 8-week process, and participate in due diligence. So if you are, yes, you're busy. Yes, you can travel. Everything is done virtually for the most part. But you need to have times available to make those meetings. You need to be able to get the data room ready and share it with us in a timely manner. Because if those things start to take too long, we're in a time-bound process with TNT. We are very strict about that. We make decisions at very clear points in time of the process, and if you don't get us the information in time for us to make the decision, you will just naturally get eliminated. So you need to be able to dedicate at least some time to this. What we also find, just as a little tip or trick, also run the rest of the process, like raising the other money, finding other investors. Don't just rely on us to help you raise the round. If you should be running a whole raising process at the same time. That's sort of how the best companies that come through the process do it. So we've got 2 events, as I mentioned, TNT Pitch Night and the finale. I'll talk about those more in a minute, but you need to be available for those. And of course, you need to be able to take an investment of at least $100,000 or more from the winner, if you are the winner. So you need to be prepared to take that check size. We have yet to have a company that we've announced is going to get the check that doesn't end up taking it at the end of the day. So I'd like to keep that streak alive. Of course, from the sector, we keep it really broad there. You'll see the application requirement, innovative technology that increases efficiency, productivity, or sustainability of the food supply chain. Basically everything from seed to table, and even before the seed, with the gene editing and all that kind of stuff. So if you're generally falling in one of these categories, you're probably okay. And if you're doing something innovative, you should be okay. At the end of the day, the investors decide. I just make sure that you're in the agri-food sector and that you're in Canada, right? So if you are headquartered in the US, you can be registered as a Delaware C Corp. That's fine. When we say headquartered, we're talking about mind and management more than anything else. So if your mind and management is here in Canada, you're good. You can be post revenue, but generally speaking, pre-Series A is where we're talking about. So the max out on valuations that we tend to see is around that $20 million mark. If you're kind of above that $20 million mark in terms of the valuation you're seeking, might not be as strong of a fit for our investors, just because of our check size versus valuation. A percentage we start to get out of whack, and the risk reward just isn't there anymore. But yeah, happy to have that question, happy to have that conversation as we get closer through the process. We do negotiate and finalize the deal terms in that final stage before we get up on stage. Which is good, because here's the timeline. So yeah, applications have already been open for a little while now. They close on October 1st, so please get your applications in by end of day on October 1st. That's midnight, October 1st, midnight out west. But we generally don't close it until the morning. So if you happen to be up in the middle of the night on that night, then try to get it done, just get it in. Shortly thereafter, we actually do the kickoff on October 8th and 9th, 8th for the investors, 9th for the companies. And then October 14th, right after that first weekend, we pick our top 20 companies. So it's very quick. We kind of go from initial pool. We expect the initial pool to be around 40 companies that will be applying. We cut that down to the 20 that we really want to dive into. Again, if you applied and didn't get into the 20, we will give you feedback. We'll give you feedback on your pitch deck and your application. And often I find there's some key things in there that maybe you didn't put in your deck that's keeping people from getting hooked and getting excited about jumping in. Because the real question that investors are going to be asking themselves to pick that top 20 is, which companies do I actually want to meet with, right? Which ones do I feel is worth a 30-minute meeting of my time? Very similar simulation to what a VC or another investor group will be doing as well, right? They'll be looking through a lot of decks and determining which ones they actually feel are worth their time to have a meeting with. That's effectively what this whole process is a simulation of a VC process. Um, then you get into the top 20 pitch night. So between October 14th and the 23rd, and actually, well, then the 27th, we do 30-minute meetings between the investors and the startups. So you'll have sort of online coffee meetings. Then we get into intensive due diligence. I'll explain what that's about, but really it's mostly about the data room, getting into the deal term negotiations in that final stage between the 13th and the 27th. And then we have that summit finale there at the end. Then it takes us about 6 weeks or so. So it might actually end up pushing into January, depending, to get those funds all collected and sent off to you and make sure that that's all buttoned up. Throughout the whole process, there's some extra education opportunities for you as well to learn and grow in fundraising. So what are you generally looking at here when it comes to the due diligence process, and what should you be expecting? So you've got, as I mentioned, the coffee meetings at the beginning of the process with the 30-minute meetings at the top 10 stage, or sorry, top 20 stage, with the investors. And then investors are meeting amongst themselves, and they'll come up with questions from those internal meetings that they'll circle back to you with, send you an email. Once we get into the top 10, we're getting into the data rooms. We're getting more demos. We're going to do reviews of IP. Generally speaking, for that, we do not do NDAs. So we have a confidentiality agreement amongst all of our investors. They sign a confidentiality agreement to participate in our summits, so they are kind of protected on that side. But if you have, really like confidential IP or something that you need to like lock behind something because you're worried about disclosure for future patent protection, that will be a separate conversation that we can have. And we're happy to have that conversation if need be. And we can sometimes have a small group, 2 or 3 investors, sign an NDA to specifically review and just kind of come back to the group and say, yeah, I reviewed it. It looks good. And give it a thumbs up, kind of thing. But otherwise, yeah, we're not doing NDAs. So yeah, also just, keep that in mind with what you choose to put in your data room as you start preparing your data rooms. Yeah, get into deal structure negotiations. If you have a lead investor already, we'll follow. That's fine. If you don't have a lead investor in place or have set deal terms yet, we're happy to set them. We're typically going to do that on a safe or a convertible note, but happy to set them accordingly. And then, yeah, we're going to do reference checks in that final stage. We're going to want to talk to current investors, past investors. We're going to want to talk to customers. We're going to want, maybe if you have a board, we're going to want to talk to your board. We want to make sure all of that stuff is buttoned up. We move fast. It's a pretty fast 8 weeks. So have this stuff ready and to go. And if you don't, I mean, you're going to learn pretty quick, kind of how this stuff goes, because a lot of this is the things that you're going to need again to raise capital from other investors. So again, if anyone's got any questions at any point, yeah, feel free to use the reaction buttons or the chat to flag me, and I'm happy to answer any questions. You can also do that at the end. But yeah, investor decision-making process. So people ask, how are we actually making these decisions as we move through? It is a collaborative group effort, so we need a mechanism for that. So starting with the top 20, we keep it pretty simple for the top 20 stage. We've got, as I said, 40 or so companies apply usually for this summit. Again, this is our first time taking it fully national, so I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen when we have fully national. In the spring we had 38, so I'm expecting something similar. The top 20, they review the companies, at least 10 of them. I like to review as many as I possibly can. But we score them on a scale of 4 to 1. So 4 is a hard yes, I would like to have a meeting with that company. 1 is a hard no, I would not want to have a meeting with that company. So yeah, sort of 3 soft yes, 2 soft no. And then based on that, we aggregate those scores up and we come up with the 20 companies that the investors most likely want to, or most want to meet with. And that moves forward from there. Then after that, it's a ranked ballot voting system. So at the top 10 and down to top 5 stage, we have the investors rank them. So 1 gets 10 points, 2 gets 9 points, 3 gets 8 points, so on and so forth. That ranks them and gets them to a top 10 and a top 5 with the most scores move forward. And then at the end, we have just the 5 companies. We rank those 5 companies again. Those 5 get ranked, 1 to 5. 1 gets 5 points, so on and so forth. The one with the highest points wins. In the case that there is a tie, which has happened once, I think out of 50 summits, there'll be 50 this fall. 50 summits that we've done. Only one time, I believe, there's been an actual tie. And if there's a tie, it goes to the company with the most first place votes. Yeah, there's a question there in the chat. What is the range of valuations from prior investments? So yeah, pretty wide range. You have kind of everything from 3 million or 2.5 million to sorry, actually there's one that's lower. There was one that was just over 1 million valuation, up to like 20 million. I'd say the sort of median is around 6 million though. 6 to 8 is typically what we're seeing in terms of valuation for companies if they're at more of like a seed stage or an advanced pre-seed. If they're like very first investment, first round, yeah, then we're talking more like 2.5, 2 million for that really early stage investment. But that's like when we're like the very first check in the company and they don't have revenue yet. They like just went out of the university. So depends. It really depends. Okay. Pitch events, as I mentioned, these are awesome. Highly recommend you attend regardless of your status in the summit and how far along you've made it. So October 23rd, it is all virtual, co-hosted with our friends at FCC. They will be co-emceeing with me, and then we have all of our different sponsors and partners on there as well. It's all virtual, but if you're in Western Canada, there'll be an opportunity for after parties in the evening in Edmonton, Calgary, Saskatoon, and Vancouver. I also think maybe Regina should have something going on as well. So it's all public. It's on our YouTube channel and Zoom. So yeah, blast it out. We get a few hundred views both online, like during it happening, and then within the first sort of 24 hours on the YouTube channel. We have people from all over the world watching. One of our winners a couple years, he said that they had a supplier in Germany that was watching them pitch at one point. So you never know who's watching. And then Toronto for the finale. First time ever doing a finale in Eastern Canada. We're really excited about that. Just working on our venue, but we will be somewhere likely in downtown Toronto around 5 o'clock. Local time is kickoff, and then pitches kind of go from there. 6 to 7 is pitches. 7 to 8, we do a panel / networking. And then at 8 o'clock, we announce the winner live on stage, as well as side deals, which I'll get to in a minute. And again, we have got after parties across Western Canada after that's over. I also just mentioned with the finale, we do stuff like in and around it, like the night before, the day of. It's a really great opportunity. So if you'd like to come to Toronto for that, whether you made it to the finale or not, let us know. We can make sure you get included in some of the fun stuff that we're doing. Okay. So the summit program, education, how can we help you raise capital? Because that's really what we're focused on. We're not like SVG Thrive or Cultivator or some of these other programs that are kind of like helping you with your business, helping you find customers, all that kind of thing. We're really hyper focused on driving investment into companies and helping you with investment. Naturally, there's going to be some coaching. There's going to be some mentoring happening. The investors are farmers. They're ag business professionals. They're people in the food industry. Like one of my investors, like the former CEO of Red Bull Canada, for example, right? So if you're in the food space, someone like that can really help you develop your business, but it's not sort of baked into the program necessarily from a programming and perspective. But here are the things that are. So we've got the educational database on our YouTube channel. Check that out. There's a playlist on there called Educational Resource Database, I believe, Entrepreneur Resource Database. Check out our playlist there. There's all kinds of stuff like how to prepare for a DD meeting, like how to build your data room, how to think about your financials, thinking about grant funding to match, all this kind of stuff. There's a whole whack of sessions in there. So I highly recommend that if you've never raised capital before. Then once we get into the summit, there's 3 sessions that we do, one sort of at each stage, top 20, top 10, top 5. So top 20 stage, we have the pitching session where we do peer-to-peer pitch practice, where our sponsors and partners get involved with us doing coaching for our startups. So we'll get like a room where we'll have like 2 to 3, like a breakout room on a Zoom call, sorry, where we'll get 2 to 3 companies in each room. You get to pitch to each other, give each other feedback, and also get feedback from the coach. Really helps you improve for the top 20 pitch night on October 23rd. So you get like a week out, you get time to prepare, do some updates, and make sure your pitch is really good to go, because it's a 3-minute pitch for a top 20 pitch night. 3-minute pitch, no Q&A. So we're rapid fire going through it. And then it's 4 minutes with a 2-minute Q&A for the finale. It's only slightly longer. Deal term office hours. So thanks to our legal partners at Kirscher and Osler, we're able to go through kind of where industry standards are. If you haven't ever seen the Osler Deal Points Report, highly recommend you go and check that out if you're thinking about raising capital and you're like, how do they do it? Like, is this industry standard? Should I be putting a discount on this? Is this liquidation participating preferred share standard? No, it's not if it's participating. But answering all those questions, we provide you with a bunch of information ahead of time so you can do a little bit of homework and show up to those office hours ready to go. But then you'll be able to ask questions of these legal experts and kind of work through any problems that you might have. Yeah, so that's for the top 10. And then VC office hours, the top 5. As I mentioned earlier, we'll want you to be out there raising capital beyond just us. And our initial check is around that 100K, 150K mark, somewhere in that ballpark. We're expecting 20 to 30 investors to pre-commit capital. But our final check ends up being around 200K, I should say. We can double down. We can put more into the winner. So about 200K is what you expect from us. But that probably means that you need more capital than that. If you're raising 500, you're raising $1 million. Whatever, maybe you already have raised some of it. We're going to be the last check. That's always great when that happens. But if you're not, and you're looking to find more capital, or if you're like, well, I'm going to have to raise the next round in the future, that's going to be $1 million, $2 million, whatever. Start building those relationships now. So we set up meetings, 3 20-minute meetings over the course of an hour with our VC friends. We'll get an opportunity to pitch them for investment and see if they are interested in diving in deeper. We've often had companies enter into due diligence following those meetings. So yeah, great little service we do for our top 5. The VCs also provide us with feedback, so it kind of helps with our due diligence as well. As mentioned, yeah, lots of educational resources, pitch boot camps. You can watch all of our past pitches on our YouTube channel. You can see our top 20s, our finales. You can see what it looks like. You can see how the pros did it. Again, it's not a pitch competition. I will mention this. The pitch is important. You should make sure you have a good pitch, but the winner is not always the best pitch. I will tell you that. In fact, there have been winners who are very much the worst pitch out of the top 5, but it wasn't about the pitch. It was about so much more than that. It was about the due diligence behind the scenes and everything else. But pitching is a skill, and a skill that you can learn and improve on. So yeah, I recommend you check that out. As you're preparing for due diligence, there's like session with Art and Zay that's up on our YouTube channel. You can check out. We also have a due diligence checklist. If you go to our go to our website under the resources page there, you'll see some resources you can download, including our due diligence checklist. So that's the data room, right, for setting up your data room with all the different items and the way to organize it. We encourage you to organize it this way because it keeps kind of things easy and standard for our investors to go through. Um, but yeah, highly recommend you check that out. There also is a copy of our DD notes, right? So everyone always asks, what am I going to get asked in our first meeting with my investors? We give that to you. We literally give you a document that has all the notes, like template in there, with sample questions, effectively what areas the investors are going to be inquiring about, so you can be prepared for that meeting. And of course, yeah, our website, YouTube playlist there as well has lots of information. Okay, so we've got the investment structure itself. As I mentioned, we'll get 20 to 30 investors that'll each put in $5,000 each. We also have a vintage fund. So it's a 2025 vintage fund investing in the winners of the summit and it has options to invest in side deals as well. So the companies receive that initial pre-committed pot of $5,000 each plus a 40K check for the VC fund. That's all gets syndicated through an LP, which then invests through one line item onto the cap table of the startup. The one caveat I will put on this, though, because this popped up in the spring, and for those in BC, it's annoying, but it's the reality. There is a way for us to do the tax credit in BC for not just BC residents, but non-BC residents. But they run everything through this holdco structure, which creates some interesting tax issues. So some of our investors choose not to use it. So then when that happens, we end up with two checks. So if you're in BC, just keep that in mind. We might end up with two checks. But if you're not, it should work in just about every other jurisdiction when it comes to um, this method. And I don't know if any other jurisdictions have angel tax credits like Ontario, Quebec, or Atlantic Canada. But if you do, let us know. We'd love to take advantage of it. Okay, yeah, so that's how that works. Oh, New Brunswick has it. There you go. Good to know. We will have to look into that and see what we can do there. Okay. For the side deals, right? So I mentioned companies, one company receives the pre-committed check, but the investors have the opportunity to invest more into the winner or into any of the companies around the table. And when I say any company around the table, I mean across all the streams. So there's an Alberta stream and a Saskatchewan stream that are happening at relatively the same time. Those investors also get access to your deals, and they don't really look at them until the top 5 stage. So kind of what's happening with that scene is each stream is picking their best companies, and then they're putting those companies in front of everybody, right? And that everybody group is like 120 investors across those 3 streams. And the LPs from the vintage fund as well can also co-invest. So they get to do that for no additional fee. They pay a one-time $500 fee to us. It's one of the benefits of our process is that we're able to really get things out there. And so the investors invest more, and it all goes through a limited partnership still and into the company at the end of the day through that one line item, as we mentioned. But yeah, with Agri-Food, we've done this 3 times now. All 3 times we've had 3 companies receive investment. So I expect there to be something similar again this fall. Yeah, almost done here, and it can take lots of questions. Founder etiquette, a few things to keep in mind, just how we want you to approach it. Strong opinions loosely held, right? Obviously, we want you to be have conviction, right? To be passionate about what you're trying to build, and really be determined to do it, right? I know there's a lot of people out there that are going to be naysayers of what you're trying to do and try to pull it down, and you've had to build a lot of resilience against that. But these are people that you're hoping to bring on board with you for the next 7 to 10 years. That's the average time it takes to exit from an angel investment. So this is a little bit like dating before you get married. So keep that in mind. They're going to want to see how the working relationship goes, right? They're going to want to see that you're receptive to that feedback. The ones that are both passionate and have that conviction, but at the same time are able to hear feedback, especially from people that have been in industry and might know a little bit more than you when it comes to how the farmer thinks or how the food purchaser at the grocery store thinks or whatever. that, just be receptive to that, right? Again, if you have any problems with any of the investors, if you think one of our investors is being a dick, send me a message. Happy to jump on a call and talk that through. But generally, we're trying to make friends, right? We want these investors, to be there for the long journey with you. We want them to really be excited to be working with you, and want to support you, right? So you have a really opportunity to get to know them online. Hopefully, they all come in person for that finale event, and then we can all get to know each other a little bit more there as well. And then finally, yes, it's a competition amongst each of you as startups and founders, but like to create some community amongst you as well, cheer each other on, encourage each other. And like that's where the peer-to-peer pitch coaching comes in, helping each other improve for the future. At the end of the day, we're all Canadians. We want to see Canada be successful. We want to see the sector be successful. So let's work and grow together. So yeah, a few other things. We want to stay up with what's going on. We got weekly email updates. Once the summit starts, you'll get weekly email updates on what's going on. There also are newsletters on our website. Those are more focused on the Western geographies, but coming soon, there will be an Agri-Food newsletter. So keep your eye out for that. If you are in Western Canada, we do regular happy hours as well. You're always happy to come up to those, meet people in person, get an opportunity to shake their hands and get to know them. And as I mentioned, we have that entrepreneur resource database on both our website, on the resources tab, and on our YouTube channel. It's not actually every single Thursday. It's like every Thursday in Edmonton, Calgary. It's like every other Thursday in Saskatoon, Regina, and Vancouver. But generally from 6 to 9 p.m., we've got those meetups there that you could come to for having some fun and getting to know more people. And that's actually just a fun fact. That's where it all started. TNT in the name, if you didn't know, stands for Thursday Night Tradition. So it all started with a happy hour back in May of 2019. Zach Storms convinced his wife to let him run a happy hour every week for a year. And here we are. 5 years on, we've invested over $20 million in 120 plus companies. So I think it's pretty effective. But yeah, if you got any questions, happy to take those now. Or you can reach out directly to me there with my email. You've also got my operations lead, Niles, who's on the call now, who could also take any questions you might have if you can't get a hold of me. You'll see his email is different because We Grow is my family office. He technically works for me directly. But yeah, that's us here at TNT. That's the summit. Questions happy to take. Anything anybody's got, throw them at me. Now we can end early. Go ahead, Jack.
No, I didn't have any questions. I just wanted to thank you. I guess I did have one question. This you may have mentioned it, but this is an annual occurrence or a biannual occurrence?
Biannual. We do one in the spring and one in the fall.
Okay, fantastic.
Anybody's allowed to reapply as long as you didn't win.
Right. Yeah. Seems reasonable. Yeah. Thank you.
Questions.
Hi, I have a question as well.
Go ahead, Brian.
Thanks. Brian Waddy, I'm the founder of GrainFlow. Haven't submitted my application yet. But I was curious to hear, so I've bootstrapped my product development so far, and over the next 10 weeks was really focusing more on customer acquisition and early traction than my raise. What would you rather see? Both.
Well, I mean, that's actually an interesting point because customer traction can be the other thing that we love to see. And I say this to a lot of founders: the best people to raise money from is your customers. So if you're getting that early customer traction, and you are at this really early stage where a check from us could probably fill most of the round, different story, right? If a company is raising more like $1 million or $2 million, I would really expect them to be out there focusing on the raise. But if you're, kind of at this bootstrap stage, yeah, I think it's focusing on the customers is going to move the needle more with investors than focusing on other investors.
Cool.
Investors are going to want to see traction. It's in today's market in particular, it's hard to raise money without some sort of market traction. You really do need market, like that's kind of become the key
About as positive
metric.
Of a relationship as it can be in that regard, which is fantastic.
Sorry, I can't really hear you there, Brian.
No, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. No worries. Other questions? Okay. Most words of entering, but you need to apply in front of the red distribution for investing. Yeah, so we have the tax credit here in Saskatchewan, so I'm pretty familiar with some of the rules there. Alberta doesn't have a tax credit, but Manitoba does, and then BC does. BC is actually just as a province is encouraging people to use a BC resident to get the tax credit. They developed a system for that. But yeah, there should be a national market for it. Both. If we have investors in those markets, we get the tax credit for them. We help them manage that. And usually it's a flow through our LP. So yeah, but thank you for the note, Sean. Appreciate it. Anybody else for questions? If not, we can end it early.